Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho. We're coming to you this Tuesday on the 21st day of October, bringing you Morning Matters because your morning's matters get to the stories that matter today. A new detention facility in Quezon City has been unveiled by the Interior Department. This move comes as the government gears up for the potential arrest of lawmakers and contractors linked to anomalous flood control projects. Concern over government corruption among Filipinos jumped from 13% in July to 31% in September. That's based on a new Octa research survey. The survey released on Monday found corruption is now the second most pressing issue Filipinos want the government to address. A rise in flu-like illnesses will not require a lockdown, that's according to health officials. The current increase in cases is considered a typical seasonal uptick and not an outbreak. However, health experts still advise the public to wear a face mask if experiencing symptoms. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first in the agenda. The government is gearing up for the possible detention of lawmakers and contractors implicated in the alleged anomalous flood control projects. The Interior Department, for its part, has unveiled a new prepared detention facility right in Quezon City. More in this report.
Each room has 5 double-deck beds, a sink, and its own restroom. There's also a laundry area, a chapel, and a receiving area for visitors. This is the new detention facility inside a new Quezon City jail in Payatas, where those accused in the anomalous flood control projects will be detained. According to the Department of the Interior and Local Government and the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, the facility is 100% ready. The ILG Secretary John Vic Remulla personally inspected the site.
Judging from the hearings, we immediately thought of a plan of action so that we wouldn't get flat-footed. Our problem is that the Camp Crame facilities are no longer available to detain these people, and the expected amount is no longer, the Camp Crame facilities are unable to handle them. So the next nearest to the civilian environment is the Quezon City Jail.
The facility is equipped with CCTV cameras both inside and outside, and gadgets will not be allowed inside the detention area. But Remulla assured the public that no special treatment will be given.
These are the last Napoles case. They were detained in single occupancy rooms with air conditioners, access to cell phones, access to unlimited visitors, and they even had visitors overnight. They would be gambling 3 nights a week straight. And so this will be much different.
Just last week, the Department of Justice turned over its initial findings on the ghost flood control projects to the Office of the Ombudsman. Remulla said the completion of this facility demonstrates the Marcos administration's determination to pursue accountability.
Yes, it is a deliberate effort of the Marcos administration to show that justice will be served to those who violated the law.
Remulla said the detention facility sends a clear message. The government is serious about holding those involved in the flood control scandal accountable.
Senator Risa Ontiveros has made public her 2024 Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, or SALN. She declared a net worth of nearly 19 million pesos with total assets of about 20 million pesos and liabilities amounting to around 900,000 pesos. Senator Win Gatchalian also expressed willingness to make his SALN public, whether by request or through immediate public access.
Sinabi ko kay SB Soto na open ako na ibigay yung aking SALN. In fact, this is not the first time kung may humihingi members of the media. Actually, in the past, maraming humihingi eh. So, binibigay namin. As long as may official request, wala kaming hinihindihan.
Meanwhile, Gatchalian said it would be good if Senator Ping Lacson resumes leadership of the Blue Ribbon Committee, citing his proven competence. He added that it was Lacson's privileged speech on alleged irregularities in flood control projects that prompted the committee's investigations.
Para sa akin, maganda yun dahil unang-una, integrity. Alam naman natin yung kanyang integridad. At pangalawa, may experience siya pagdating sa investigation. Yung privilege speech niya talaga nag-trigger nito. So para sa akin, dahil siya yung may information, mas magandang ipagpatuloy niya na lang yung chairmanship.
One senator suggests to just build a brand new public works department as more problems have been uncovered in the agency's budget proposal. Mary Reyes with the report.
6,000 more questionable projects are in the 625.78 billion peso budget submitted by the Department of Public Works and Highways for 2026. This was uncovered by Senate Finance Committee Chair Win Gatchalian in Monday's budget deliberation. Some of the red flags Gatchalian identified were projects without exact location, double entries, and those divided by multiple phases. There were even 946 reappearing projects, those already marked completely in the previous years, but apparently will still be constructed in the coming year or years. Gatchalian now demands documents for each of these projects.
Hindi nyo masasamit, tatanggalin rin namin yung red flag floor kasi on first glance, tapos na siya yung 2025 eh. Bakit pa tayo magdadagdag in 2026?
Tama po.
So, we will expect yung submission for red flag 1 the soonest kasi tumatakbo na yung project. Pero kung hindi nyo masasubmit yung 1 and yung 4, we will remove 271 billion worth of projects.
Dapat, kung completed na ang proyekto noong nakaraang taon, at hindi lang nung immediately preceding year, halimbawa in this case 2025, dapat wala ng pondo yan. Pero, ang sinasabi po sa akin ngayon is, baka po yung project na nandyan kaya siya nagre-recur kasi hindi pa siya kumpleto. No? But again, kailangan po yan i-validate.
Another lapse, overpricing in some of the projects. Senators warn of slashing the DPWH's infra project fund by 20 to 30% if this is not rectified.
Kasi kung may overprice, sa konsyensya po namin, hindi kami makakapagpirma pag alam naming yung disenyo at yung cost of materials ay naka-overprice.
Hindi ko po malalagdaan ang aking pirma sa 2026 General Appropriations Act kung hindi po natin binaba yung presyo ng line items. So yung across the board, magandang pahiwatig po to na tayo ay seryoso sa pagreforma sa ating budgetary process.
Secretary Dizon says they are now going through costings of all public works projects to make sure any loophole is plugged. Dizon admits his team could not understand the formula set by their predecessors on allocation per district.
Because we have to go through it region by region. Na ang presyo po ng mga materyales, simento, bakal, at iba pa, ay iba-iba kada rehiyon. Pero, clearly po, merong overprice. Again, we leave it up to the wisdom of the Senate. We will submit the list right after this hearing, Mr. Chairman. And please help us po. Also, especially moving forward, as we try to fix this. Clearly, it's a broken system, Mr. Chairman. It's been broken for some time now. As you said, maybe even decades.
And while they fix the budget, Dizon is also promising more cases against erring DPWH officials and contractors. Next to face charges are Zaldico's Sunwest Corporation and other construction companies of Curly and Sara Diskaya. For Senator Win Gatchalian, it could take years before the DPWH can clean house. He suggests abolition.
Magtayo na lang ng bagong DPWH eh.
This is something that Malacanang does not see happening.
May mga public servants pa rin po at public officials na masasabi natin tumutugon sa kanilang mga obligasyon. Hindi po pa naiisip kung dapat itong i-abolish dahil dapat ang tanggalin dito ay yung mga gumagawa ng mali.
Meanwhile, Dizon is planning to reinstate the cadet engineering program so they can recruit new civil engineers that are not tied to the so-called padrino system. Patronage and nepotism have hounded the agency for decades. The last cadet program was established way back 2013. Among its graduates, newly installed DPWH OIC for Convergence and Technical Services, Lara Esquibil. She replaces resigned Yusek Aray Perez, who was accused of having connections with contractors.
I had a very long conversation with Director Lara. Sabi ko sa kanya, huwag kang mag-aalala. Basta gawin mo lang ang tama.
Kapatid Mobile Journal Mary Reyes, we are One News.
The Department of Health clarifies that the country is not experiencing a flu outbreak, but a typical seasonal uptick in cases. Still, health experts urge the public to wear face masks if experiencing symptoms. Here is a report.
The Department of Health is assuring the public that it's normal for flu cases to rise around this time of year. In an interview with The Big Story, DOH spokesperson Dr. Albert Domingo said there has actually been a 25% decrease in flu-like illness cases compared from the same period last year.
There is no such thing as an outbreak unless a local government unit declares it to be so. It is normal every year at around this time from June to November when there is rain and also when the temperature changes into the December season or January season that flu just really goes up and then it goes down again as we approach summer.
From September 28 to October 11, 2025, the DOH recorded 6,457 cases, lower than the 8,628 cases reported in 2024. Infectious disease expert Dr. Nina Gloriani said there's no need for widespread lockdowns. Speaking to 1PH sa Totoo Lang, she explained that most of these diseases are now endemic and people should instead practice individual lockdowns, meaning they should stay home if they have symptoms.
Pero yung sinasabing lockdown talaga, hindi natin kailangan yon. Yung COVID noon, talagang grabe. Maraming kaso, saka ang symptoms talagang grabe, no? Pero ngayon, most of these are actually yung endemic na sa atin. Andyan na lang sila, pero mas mataas ng konti pag ganitong mga panahon.
She also emphasized the importance of continuous sanitation and precautionary measures.
Yung flu vaccine ay nakakatulong talaga, no? While every year natin yung kinukuha, no?
Yes.
Kasi nag-iiba-iba yung strain na tinatawag natin, nag-iibang hugis yung mga ang virus ng flu. So, yearly merong rekomendasyon ng WHO kung ano ang dapat gamitin.
Meanwhile, in an interview with Afternoon Delight, health advocate Dr. Tony Liachon raised concerns over the Department of Health's handling of the matter. He also urged the public to wear face masks, especially to protect vulnerable and immunocompromised individuals.
Kung meron ka niyan, dahil sanay na tayo dyan, magmask ka muna. Then pagka bumaba ang surge mo, saka mo tanggalin. Ngayon, kung wala kang decision and you leave right now as Department of Health to the LGU, the decision, mahinang klase yung decision-making process na yan.
Coming right up, as gold prices continue to climb, we ask, what does this mean for everyone? Is this good news or is there a catch to this uptrend? Joining us to discuss this, we will have on the show Angelo Taninco, Research Head and Chief Economist of Security Bank when Morning Matters returns. Keep it here on One News. Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho, and here in Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. Gold prices climbed more than 2% on Monday, supported by growing bets on U.S. interest rate cuts and renewed safe haven demand. According to Reuters, spot gold rose to $4,364.39 per ounce, while U.S. gold futures for December delivery settled higher at $4,359.40 per ounce. Gold recently hit an all-time high of $4,378.69 per ounce, with market watchers expecting it could reach $4,500 in the coming weeks. Experts say the prospect of rate cuts and political tensions are fueling demand for gold, which is a safe store of value during turbulent times. And joining us today to help us understand the recent surge in gold prices, we have Angelo Taninco, the Research Head and Chief Economist at Security Bank. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Matters.
Thank you for having me, Gretchen.
Okay, Angelo, unang-una, let's put this in the Philippine context. Last year, I did a documentary on gold, and gold then was at 4,500 pesos for the 24 karat per gram. Mm-hmm. Now it is at 8,000 the last I checked. It's doubled already. What's driving this surge in prices?
It's mainly driven by the surge in international gold prices. Year to date, international gold prices is up by more than 60%. As mentioned, above $4,000 per ounce already. And there is an upbeat sentiment with respect to gold as a commodity and as an alternative to investments. And in fact, central banks have been responsible in bringing the gold prices up because they have been accumulating more of the gold as part of their foreign reserves.
Okay, is this related to President Donald Trump assuming office? Because last year was the time that he became president again. And if you take a look at events worldwide, medyo matagal-tagal na rin siyang turbulent, no, with the Israel-Gaza conflict lasting nearly 2 years now. Would you attribute this to the tariff policies of President Trump, mainly?
Well, it's partly driven by the economic uncertainty that is heightened by the tariff policy of Trump. Because as investors go to gold for a store of value, it also serves as a risk haven asset or safe haven asset at times when you have a high degree of economic uncertainty. So if it's also not that highly correlated with other asset classes such as equities or even bonds or even crypto. So if you have, let's say, heightened economic uncertainty, these are negative for risky assets, but not for safe haven assets such as gold.
And what belongs to that category of safe haven assets?
Well,
apart from gold?
Well, aside from gold, you also have certain currencies like the Japanese yen and also the Swiss franc. Both tend to be stable currencies. And also, you have the US dollar. Now, it's being tested because of the economic uncertainty. Because the economic uncertainty is focused in the US. Because it's Trump's driving the tariff war and also the geopolitical tension involving the United States.
So kumbaga yung mga dating may hawak ng dolyar at nagsistore ng pera in dollars are now going to gold?
Yes. Gold is now better.
And how reliable is gold? I mean, I've been wondering why the fascination for gold? Is it, mostly emotional affiliation that humans have with gold? Kasi pag tinignan mo yung usage of gold, it's not as widely used as silver, as other metals. Bakit gold yung pinupuntahan ng tao?
I think partly because gold has a richer history. Even before we introduce currencies, barter system, there's already gold. And then prior to the so-called Bretton Woods system, there's already the gold standard. So we have this long history of depending on gold as a store of value and even before as a medium of exchange and unit of account in some cases. And therefore, it has been tested historically to be a reliable commodity and also as an investment asset.
And talking about that reliability, what's the history of gold when it comes to the downturns and rise of its price? Nagkaroon na ba ng gold crash in history? I mean, there's a gold rush and have crashes also occurred?
Well, in my recent recollection, there's not been a strong, collapse in gold prices. Perhaps some correction is evident in recent past, but not really a crisis in the making. So I haven't heard of gold sparking a financial or economic crisis because its price collapsed. So unlike stocks or even unlike currencies, we had, of course, the Asian financial crisis. That was a currency crisis. And then we also had, the stock market collapse in the US in 2008 and 2009. But over the recent decades, we haven't seen gold collapsing. And as a result, during times of heightened economic uncertainty and when you have a so-called stagflation, when there is slower economic growth but high inflation, which we saw back in the 1970s, that's when investors flock more into gold because it's also a hedge against high inflation. Yes.
Where your money's value is less than what it was before.
Yes.
Oh, and speaking of being a safe haven asset, is gold at this time seen as a safe haven asset or more of a speculatory asset where people are still hoping for the prices to rise even higher?
Now I think it's more of a mix. Unlike before, when it was more of a safe haven asset class, now because investors see gold prices continually beat expectations, surpassing record high levels, then I think that's where the speculative aspect comes in. And there is now more upbeat sentiment towards this commodity. So in fact, we saw the latest foreign reserve data of the central bank here in the Philippines. As of end September, there was about $16.3 billion worth of gold reserves out of the $109 billion of total reserves. So that's already about 15% share in gold reserves to the total gross international reserves. Yes, here in the BSP foreign reserves.
But when it comes to the prices of gold, is this mainly dependent on the U.S. market? Because there is speculation that the U.S. market or there might be interest rate cuts by the U.S. banking system.
Yes, that's also true that during times when interest rates go down or are low, that's when investors also invest more into gold. So with the expectation of more Federal Reserve rate cuts later this month and also by year end and for next year at least 2 based on market expectations, you still have that
so meron pa.
Bullish sentiment on gold prices
so tataas pa
next year. That's the expectation.
By the first quarter, first half?
Well,
when do you expect for this to hit its peak?
It has been already topping record highs for several times already. So I will not be surprised if it topped $4,500 per ounce, say by year end, or maybe earlier, or if not, say in 2026, it could even hit $5,000. For as long as the global economic environment has economic uncertainty from the trade war, and the geopolitical risk tension is still there in the Middle East and in Russia, Ukraine, with lower interest rates, that provides more ammunition for gold prices to go up
so
further.
As long as President Trump is in office?
Until 2028.
Wow! So should we buy gold now?
Well,
and in which form? Kasi merong physical gold at meron ding gold assets, like gold funds, gold stocks.
Yes.
Right? Gold-related stocks and bonds.
Yes.
Tama ba ako? Gold stocks.
So like for example, in the Philippine Stock Exchange, you have gold mining stocks already leading the way. The mining and oil sub-index is nearly doubled year to date. And we have certain gold mining stocks more than doubling already in terms of the share price since the start of the year. So you can go into that channel or other channels.
Pareho lang ba yung pag-grow nun? I mean, which is better, to get the physical gold or to invest in gold stocks?
Well, it
or
depends.
Financial instruments.
It depends on the appetite of investor or the preference of investors. But for me, I think I would be indifferent in terms of looking at either. For as long as my expectation is potential appreciation in the value of gold, then that will raise its price over time.
How does gold compare to other types of assets such as real estate and bonds and Bitcoin?
Well, as mentioned, gold is a safe haven asset. Secondly, it's driven more by international price, unlike, say, real estate where you have local demand-supply dynamics, unlike, say, the local stocks where it's also affected by domestic macro, sectoral, and earnings of companies. Nor is it also equally the same as Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is more speculative in my view. It doesn't have a strong tangible asset to back it up, unlike, say, gold, which is already a tangible asset to begin with.
Pero what is the relationship of gold with monetary markets in inflation? Because, for example, the BSP has lowered interest rates by 25 basis points recently, I believe. So what does that mean for gold?
Well, the gold is a huge chunk of the foreign reserves. So for as long as gold reserves go up, because gold prices go up, then the foreign reserves likewise go up. And this serves as an external buffer for the Philippine Central Bank. Whenever the central bank has ample foreign reserves, it can withstand any potential, say, strong depreciation pressure on the local currency. So
it's a hedge fund.
It tends to mitigate any depreciation pressure, because if, say, an investor would see the Philippine peso, if it wants to short, say, the local currency, but sees that the central bank's foreign reserves are more than enough, that means the central bank can go into the foreign exchange market in order to support the peso, then that provides some defense on the peso.
So bakit tayo nagbenta ng ginto? I mean, in the past year, right?
Yeah.
The BSP sold gold. Why did we do that? Was it wise?
Well, because the price went up already. So if investor buys low, and then the price goes up, so a tactical way of making
liquidating the gold
profits
asset
is to sell it at a high price and then start to accumulate again. Whenever the price goes up further, then that's when you tend to buy and sell.
So pag nagbawas ng interest rate ang BSP dito sa Pilipinas, what does that do to gold prices here in the Philippines?
Well, it's not that affected.
So it's more directly impacted by what's happening in the U.S. economy than the Philippine economy.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And so do you see this? I mean, you already forecasted that this could rise even higher up until 2028. But what are the signs of a bubble, a possible bubble? Is that also a possibility?
Well, it's possible, and let's say, as mentioned, gold prices the gold demand increased because of the uncertainty. If that uncertainty dissipates, then investors become more riskier and will flock into stocks. And then that could be a rotation away from gold. But in the meantime, U.S. stock market is still doing well as well. So it's no longer the case before when you have that negative correlation between the stock price in the U.S. and the gold. Now they are moving in tandem. Because we are in this unprecedented environment of potential stagflation, slower growth.
Could you compare this period of time to another period of time in history?
I couldn't recall in recent history a similar episode when you see gold prices reaching record highs and even the U.S. stock market also reaching record highs. And then even the emerging markets, except the Philippines, doing well as well in terms of their equity market performance. So, and we are in a higher tariff regime. We are in a geopolitical risk environment that's still high. So, given all of the confluence of these factors, to me, it's a bit unprecedented that we are experiencing this.
Okay. What's the relationship of gold with the peso-dollar market?
Well, the gold serves as part of the foreign reserves. For as long as you have hefty foreign reserves, thanks to gold, then you have more than enough external buffers that you can use to support
But the peso to
Philippine
dollar
peso.
rate right now is at 58. Medyo mataas,
Yes.
no?
58, it's hovering close to 58 or 58.1.
58.
Yes, it's been moving, I think, in a range-bound
Isn't that high?
manner. It's not as worrisome as, say, back in late 2024 when you had a
Malapit na
59.
mag-60. Oo.
And the movement now is that the volatility appears to be less because there's this push and pull factor on the dollar peso. On one hand, you have the foreign reserves supporting the local currency, and on the other hand, you have a weak US dollar because of the tariff policy of Trump. That is also contributing to the
So the
local
peso
currency.
is bound to get stronger
Usually,
in the coming months.
especially during holiday season, year-end, that's
kasi
when
may,
the peso
influx of,
appreciates
dollar.
last 2 months of the year because of the remittances, tourist arrivals.
So kung magpapalit kayo, dapat ngayon na, before the dollars come.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess on a final point for everyone, how much money should we invest into gold?
Well, you could, if you have a portfolio, then again, depends on the investor appetite. But just to share the central bank's portfolio no, worldwide, I think as a share of their foreign reserves, they have been from as low as 5% to as high as more than 70%, I think, in Europe. So which suggests that in your existing portfolio, you may wish to already put gold, if not yet, and then also increase the share if you already have some existing, because that's already been done by institutional investors.
Start building your own.
Yes, and even central banks worldwide.
But ilang percentage of your total portfolio should be put in gold?
Hard for me to say. But personally, I would have maybe at least 10%. If I have hypothetical portfolio, then the remaining would still be, of course, cash, and then, of course, some equities and some fixed income component.
But how easy is it to sell gold if you have the physical gold?
I'm not sure how how that is conducted, but may not be that easy locally because I don't think it's a widely liquid local market to begin with.
May effect ba na supplier tayo ng gold? I mean, we do mine a lot
Yes,
of gold. We
yes.
went to Paracale in Camarines Norte.
Yeah.
Tapos talagang ang lalim nung
Yeah, there are lots of gold mines here,
Oh.
and I think they're also trading, say,
In effect,
locally.
we're not as dependent, I guess, on foreign markets because we have our own.
Yes.
So in a way that strengthens the local currency.
We have also our local supply of gold that can also support our reserves and also be part of the international market as well as we export it
So
to the rest
if
of the
people
world.
were to choose real estate or gold, which would you have them choose?
Well, for now it's gold. I mean,
For now.
yes.
The gold rush seems to be true and heading an uptrend, and there's more to be found here. I guess just be a little bit cautious and
Yes, be
tune in
cognizant of the risks
to how
involved.
the foreign markets react, specifically the U.S. market.
Right.
All right, thank you. Maraming salamat for shedding light on the latest in gold and the rush that we're observing worldwide. We have Angelo Taninco, Research Head and Chief Economist at Security Bank.
Thank you.
Up next, government corruption is now the second most urgent national issue for Filipinos. That's according to the latest Okta research survey. All that and more when we come back after a quick break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here in One News. Government corruption has emerged as the second most urgent issue that Filipinos want the government to address. That's according to the latest Okta research survey. Survey results released on Monday showed that concern over corruption rose from 13% in July to 31% in September, the highest level recorded since 2021. Okta President Ranjit Rai said growing public outrage fueled by corruption-related protests and ongoing investigations into flood control projects likely drove the spike in concern. Rai added that Filipinos are no longer expressing anger alone, but demanding accountability and institutional reforms to prevent further misuse of public funds. And joining us now to elaborate on the survey results, we have Okta Research Fellow Guido David. Magandang umaga sa'yo, Guido. Welcome back to Morning Matters.
Yes, good morning, Gretchen, and to our viewers and listeners at Morning Matters.
Okay, public concern over corruption now ranked second among the top concerns in your survey. Hasn't this always been a top concern for Filipinos? I mean, when we go to the election cycle, people or candidates know that talking about corruption is always a plus, and it's relevant to many socioeconomic classes. What makes this survey result different?
Well, it's always relevant, Gretchen, but and we always ask this question to our in our survey. So yung urgent national concerns is one of the staples of the Okta Research Tugon ng Masa survey. What makes this relevant is that it's the first time that this factors in the top 5. So remember, this is urgent national concerns. And let's say about 4 years ago, the urgent national concern was about COVID and public health. Then 2 years ago, until last year, it was mainly inflation and poverty. And nowadays, although inflation is still the top concern, we do note that inflation has dropped to 1.5%, which is really a healthy rate of inflation now. I mean, 4%, 5% was high, but now it's just down to 1.5%. So mainly it's because prices of basic goods is still, relatively high compared to our salaries, and that's the concern. But now, corruption has jumped to number 2 in the urgent national concerns. And if we look at Metro Manila, it's actually number 1 in Metro Manila. About 53% of the respondents say that graft and corruption in government is the top concern in Metro Manila.
Your survey also says that it is at its highest rate since 2021. What do the numbers tell us about the trend of corruption as a top concern?
Well, it did jump significantly since the last survey. I think you mentioned it went up from 13% to 31%. So it's now in the top 5 concerns. It used to be not in the top 5. Does it mean that it wasn't a concern? It was always a concern, but they wanted urgency on inflation, on affordable food, on food security, on poverty, wages, etc. But now, for some people, it's actually more urgent than even poverty or jobs. And to be fair also to the Marcos administration, not only is inflation down, but also unemployment is down. According to the latest PSA statistics. So, and now this has become, top of mind. And maybe because of the constant reminders, yung flood control projects, this is the rainy season. We're seeing the flood, the floods happen constantly. And there's also constant reminders. There's protest marches, rallies. It used to be that the hearing was every day. Pero ngayon,
actually, yun nga yung tatanong ko sana sa'yo, how much of these top concerns, this particular survey is related to what's on the headlines? Kasi kung titingnan mo, nabanggit mo, COVID and public health and inflation and poverty and now this time corruption. That was the trend of the news, di ba? Parang yun yung laging parang binubungad sa pagbabalita. Hindi ba parang kung ano yung nakikita sa balita, mas mataas yung awareness, so mas mataas din yung pag-aalala doon sa lagi mo nababasa at napapanood.
Yeah, that's a good point, Gretchen. And this survey was conducted September 25. So fresh pa lang dito yung September 21 rally na ginanap nung at that time. So it is connected to headlines. That's why part of the responsibility to keep this going, itong momentum, is with the media also. We have to stay on top of this.
Stay
Of
on
what's
the
going
ball.
on. Yes, keep our eye on the ball. Ang problem, of course, again, not a problem, but one of the things is the ICI is heading the investigation, and some people are complaining that there's not enough transparency, and that may take it away, take it off the headlines slightly because people don't hear it. Unlike nung nasa Senate Blue Ribbon siya, almost every day we're seeing hearings, we're seeing these witnesses, and ngayon medyo nag-stop na ito because of the lack of the hearings. But hopefully masustain ito. We don't want what happened in the past na makalimutan na lang ng mga tao itong mga ganito. But I think it's different. Nowadays, yun nga, may constant reminders, may floods na nangyari. Headlines keep it there. And we have to keep the pressure, so to speak. So I think, and the youth are getting involved dito. So I think that will help keep the momentum.
And Mr. Rajat Rai has said that apart from just corruption being an urgent concern, there is indication that there's a growing public demand for integrity and accountability in government. How was that determined by your survey? What was the question asked? And I guess yung tanong dito is, gaano kalalim pa yung pag-intindi ng mga tao sa korupsyon? Enough for it to transcend just calling out and defining, I guess, yung political colors here, enough to move it towards a conversation on actual accountability.
Yes, and actually, Gretchen, this was asked in the same survey, pero a different question. Ang tinanong dyan, expected outcomes from the investigation on flood control. And although they were allowed to select multiple answers, ang top three dito, ang number one is to hold corrupt officials and contractors accountable. That's 68%. So that's more than half. In fact, that's more than 2/3. And then recovery of lost or misused public funds, so restitution, is 58%. So that's also more than half, almost 6 out of 10. And also 58% in imprisonment of those proven guilty. So now this is something that the public wants. Gusto nila may makita, may makulong, hindi lang accountability, hindi lang restitution, pero may makulong. And aside from that, they also want improvement of yung implementation, improved transparency. And I think with the new ombudsman, we're headed in the right direction. At least yung pagbubukas ulit ng SALN, and the ombudsman is now take charge person. Mukhang he will file. He's not gonna file, but he will investigate or at least open up these discussions about corruption and whatnot. So I think there are things that are being done that's heading us in the right direction. Kasama na rin yung pag-appoint ng DPWH Secretary, si Vince Dizon, a few months ago. So those are things that will help in this regard. And I think yung education will help the public understand more about yung corruption. Na this is not a party issue. This is a systemic issue. And I think more people are understanding that, Gretchen.
Are the numbers the same across the different regions, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao? And did you have any sort of stratification according to age?
Yes, I don't have the data sa age in front of me, Gretchen. But as far as the issue on corruption, yun nga, I think the mention ko na in Metro Manila is actually number one at 53%. Pero in Mindanao, it's relatively low at just 18%. In fact, a lot of the other, yes, I get it na maybe life is harder in Mindanao, so they're more concerned about inflation poverty and whatnot. So, but it's relatively lower in Mindanao at 18%. And for socioeconomic class ABC, it's higher at 40%. Per sa E, it's only 24%. That means, siguro sa mga lower socioeconomic classes, and I hear this sometimes, parang sinasabi nila ng mga tao, oh, wala namang mangyayari dyan, pare-pareho lang naman yan. But let's not fall into that mindset na, yun nga, na nothing will change. We have to keep applying the pressure because we need systemic change. And to be fair naman, Gretchen, our democracy is relatively young since 1986. So that's only 39 years. Magpo 40 years pa lang yung democracy natin. So we have really ways to improve pa naman. But improvement will come with the people din. At least ngayon, we're more conscious of these things, especially yung mga kabataan natin, who we have, at least me personally, I have high hopes for sa youth natin. So they are expressing their concern, they're expressing their yung feelings towards this. And unfortunately, I don't have the data sa age stratification, but we do know na they are getting more involved dito sa mga protests natin.
Pero pagdating sa usapin ng korupsyon, actually maraming nakatali dito. Hindi lang naman yung flood control, nandyan din yung usapin ng confidential funds, nandyan din yung usapin ng pork barrel funds. How does the flood control compare to the other issues related to corruption? Is this somehow a unifying factor across different socio-economic classes? Meron bang pagkakaiba? Kasi pag sinabi nating flood control at pagbaha, lahat tayo nakakaranas niyan. Ito ba ay mas poignant na issue?
Right, and that's a good point, Gretchen, and I'm glad you raised that. Na, kasi the pork barrel issue has been around for some time. I think, past several administrations, we've been hearing about the pork barrel. And nagpapalit lang yung pangalan, and then people seem to forget about it until it's raised up, it's brought up again. But you're right. Well, yung confidential funds, intel funds, it was an issue, but not a lot of people were as involved in the discussion. If I remember correctly, this confidential funds, and some people were saying, parang, okay, well, I mean, siguro yung scale of things sa confidential funds, and the fact na the flood control affects us directly. Whereas kunyari, things like confidential funds, pork barrel, these seem to be words na hindi masyadong nasa grasp ng mga, hindi naman sana, hindi natin naiintindihan, pero hindi siya directly tangible sa atin. Whereas flood control, and to be fair, even sa E, which I said medyo mababa, at 24%, that's still 1 out of 4 Filipinos sa socio-economic class E, and sa D, 31%. So mataas din sila. So kumbaga, pag flood control kasi, this is a constant reminder for us that we are affected, and yung siguro yung mental image sa mga kababayan natin na may a few people nagkaroon sila ng luxury vehicles at the expense of us na lumulusong sa baha. May mga nagkakasakit sa leptospirosis, na inconvenience tayo, hindi tayo makauwi, or nababaha tayo, yung mga gamit natin nababaha, nasisira yung mga kagamitan natin, may mga sasakyan na pag nabaha, nasisira, diba? Mga ganyang direct, it affects us directly, it affects our livelihoods, our way of living. Kaya this is different, unlike something na more abstract, kunyari, for most people, like yung pork barrel.
I guess it is, the difference with flood control is that you get reminded of it every single time there's another storm coming. But I guess you're right, the danger is to have that anger dissipate heading into the holiday season, heading into the summer season. There's that danger there. Pero ano pa yung mga ibang nag-stand out for your group when it comes to this data set? Any other trends or insights?
Well, na-mention ko na kanina, Gretchen, about the yun nga, yung expected outcomes. Another question we asked in the survey, I'm not sure if na-cover yun is the preferred institution to lead the investigation on the flood control scandal. And ang pinakamatas dito, which was asked no September 25, was the ICI actually. So people actually preferred this to lead the investigation. It was at 46%. Number 2 lang Senate Blue Ribbon at 23%. And number 3 yung House of Representatives at 13%. Number 4 yung DOH at 8%. So in agreement naman yung mga yung public that the ICI should head the investigation. Of course, at that time, nagsa-start pa lang ICI. Now we're seeing hopefully magkaroon talaga ng transparency din yung ICI.
Was the survey conducted before they announced they were not going to live stream their sessions?
Yes, this was no September 25. So I think this was early on pa lang, Gretchen.
Hindi pa na-announce
so,
yun.
Yes, hindi pa alam. And I think they were just forming the team pa lang nun. And ngayon, many changes have happened. Si Mayor Magalong is now not with the ICI, whereas before he was. And so, and then yun nga, hindi ila live stream. But I think even if closed door yung hearings or yung sessions ng ICI, I think they should still be transparent about what is going on. But there are again some few things na which we saw na are helping us in the right direction, like yung sa ombudsman, yung pagbubukas ng SALN. I think this will help keep the conversation continuing. Tama yung sabi niya, Gretchen, na every rainy season, which will happen every year, constant reminder of
babalik
the flood
na naman yung usapin
control.
na
Babalik
yan.
na naman, right? But it's not just flood control. I mean, now, we have even talks na baka yung ibang infrastructures natin, hindi pala earthquake-proof, especially now that earthquakes are happening. So these are constant reminders na hopefully, hindi mawawala sa consciousness ng mga tao itong mga
Guido, super final question, no? Na-attribute ba ng mga Pilipino yung galit na yan to certain politician? How are, I guess, the ratings of the Vice President and the President on your end? Do they both suffer? Does this transcend political colors?
Well, yes. Although hindi pa namin na-release, Gretchen, yung sa ratings sa President and Vice President. But I did see some surveys. I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to talk about it. Pero doon sa senators, may mga nag-suffer talaga sa ratings nila. And those who are frequently mentioned, hindi ko nababanggitin sino sila.
Okay, alam na natin yun.
They're among the bottom 3. In fact, they have less than 50% trust. Some of the 3 names or 4 names ng mga senators, nasa mga 50 or below na sila. Some of them are even lingering at mga 20% approval. That means 80% disapproval the public. So they have really suffered. So this is not just something na, bulletproof sila na, accusations are made and the public just ignores it. So I think they are listening. They are listening to these hearings, to these sessions, and they are, taking it in, and they're showing their anger sa mga protests. And I think there will be a major one this November 30. They want some accountability, some jail or some whatever, pero they want results.
And we await the results of the ICI. In the meantime, maraming salamat for sharing with us your latest findings on your surveys. We look forward to the next one. Parang may teaser na dyan ng konti, no?
Yes,
pero
of course.
maraming salamat, no, for weighing in on with us. And I guess on the public's anger towards corruption. We have Off the Research fellow Guido David.
Thank you, Gretchen.
Talking about SALNs, according to Vice President Sara Duterte, it has long been possible to obtain these statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth, or SALNs, of government officials. That's why she said the new memo issued by Ombudsman Remulla is nothing but drama or mere showmanship. As proof, VP Sara said the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism had previously released her SALNs. Here is what the Vice President said.
Dati pa naman po pwede po din ang SALN eh. Matter of hihingi ka sa ombudsman, magsusulat ka, kahingi ng SALN ng tao na yan. At bakit ko nasabi na dati pa yan? Dahil dati pa lumalabas ang SALN ko sa PCIJ, sa Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism. At hindi lang sa kanila ha, sa iba pang mga media outfit, lumalabas yung saliin ko. In fact, si Trillanes nga, may kopya nga ng saliin ko.
Now, according to the Vice President, the PCIJ has been able to obtain her SAL-N before, and the process is to write the Ombudsman to request a copy. But when the PCIJ was asked if they could still access Sara Duterte's SAL-N, they said not anymore. Former PCIJ Executive Director Carmela Fonbuena said the last SAL-N they obtained from Sara Duterte was back in 2017, and that was 8 years ago. This was confirmed by PCIJ Training Director Rowena Paraan. The tightening of access to SAL-Ns began under her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte. And since 2018, President Duterte stopped releasing his SAL-N to the public. Instead, the PCIJ was repeatedly referred back and forth between the Office of the President and the Ombudsman. And then in 2020, Ombudsman Samuel Martires issued new rules, further restricting the public release of SAL-Ns. Under the new policy, you must first secure permission from the official who filed it before the ombudsman can release their SAL-N. In other words, if you want to investigate a public official, you must first ask for their consent. But here's the thing, this would not even be an issue if government officials would voluntarily release their SAL-Ns, whether they're the president, vice president, senator, or congressman. And every year, a few officials do release theirs voluntarily, but they are usually from the opposition. If one were to go by the law and constitution, though, it would be much better if all officials, whether from the administration or the opposition, made their SAL-Ns public. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day matter. My name is Gretchen Ho. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time.